Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, I talk about 4 different types of freedom: time, financial, location, health freedom. And I'm happy to welcome today's guest, Sanjeev Loomba. He's the author of The Ninth Gear. It's going to be a really interesting conversation around culture, leadership, business strategy, and I'm happy to welcome him onto the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah. Where are you coming from? Where are you calling in from?
So I'm. Let me just look out of the window. Today I'm in London, and it is a little bit like that. I have to just check where I'm. So I live in London. I'm based in London, and today I happen to be here as well. Otherwise, I'm literally all over the world.
Tell us more about your origin story, how you got started, and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I'm very closely linked with the medical profession in the sense that, my father was a doctor and a genius and a saintly doctor who I admired very much. And then we moved from India to the UK. My studies were first in finance. I trained to be, I did financial degrees and then chartered accountant and so on. And then I was disillusioned with the whole area of strict finance and debit and credit and black and white and red. And so I quit the day I qualified. I qualified on a Friday and I quit on the Monday. And I went on to do an MBA at Cranfield and then 2 MBAs. And the reason for all of this was that during those years as a junior auditor, I think I had a disease, which I call potential. And I just saw potential. And at the age of 21, I named my company, which is called The Real Potential. And I just saw potential, whether it was potential in your strategies, in your customers, in your markets, in your people, in your processes, in whatever, your products, your services. So I just saw potential, and I made it my quest in life to help people, organizations, individuals to really be able to tap into that potential. But I was tempted after my MBA to go and work for a consulting firm, or at least they were very tempted to recruit me. And I resisted that. And the reason for that is very simple. I have no right to stand up and guide anyone or teach anyone or anything like that unless I've had the good fortune to be able to actually do it myself. And so everything I say, and that's in the book as well, and my method is coming from the experience of being able to have turned around corporations as finance director, marketing director, strategy director. So I worked in corporations and then CEO of different corporations, different countries. And then in the last 25 years or so, I've been bringing that to hundreds of organizations and thousands of people. And I'm saying this with incredible humbleness, modesty, and gratitude that to bring that transforms to people, including a lot of doctors and KOLs, if I may say. Been quite closely associated with pharmaceuticals, medical devices companies, but also individual KOLs through my career and helping them through. So that's my gig. And now the book is out there. The method, which I call Valuepreneurship, is kind of turning the world the other way around, looking at business strategy, entrepreneurship, from the right way around. We're looking at it from the wrong way around. I'll be happy to explore that with you if you want. Yeah. So that in a nutshell is the story.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting. A lot of my colleagues, we got into medical school, we got through it, got into residency, and then we get into it, and we're just looking around, we're being like, WTF? This, it's a dying, all this. But so I like this idea of potentialitis. I like that.
Potentialitis. It's what comes of being of growing up in a medical family.
So you have this idea that you talked about valuepreneurship in the ninth gear. Kind of tell us kind of the meat around it.
Yeah, the essence of valuepreneurship is, as I said, that we look at the world the right way round. We're looking at it the wrong way around. What do I mean by that? As an entrepreneur, we're over concerned about me. And we're over concerned about what product. So an entrepreneur says this. An entrepreneur says, what products and what services can I have? How much can I sell? To whom can I sell it to? How many dollars can I make? And how wealthy can I get? Which is all fine. There's no problem with that. And it's brought us up to here. It's great. But going on from here, moving on, there's a call to integrity. And in a strange sort of way, I feel a little bit fake speaking about this to doctors, because if anyone gets close to value and being a valuepreneur is doctors, because your obsession is with making people right. However, we are business people as well. Let's face it, we are professionals, and the dollar value does interplay very strongly. Argument, not only my argument, but I'm happy to say that the transformation I brought to parts of J&J, Biosense Webster, Cordis, companies like that, or Covidian, and or even Bayer Pharmaceuticals and Janssen Pharmaceuticals, and so on. That having brought some significant transformation in the way that they approach the world and market, the valuepreneurial thinking goes the other way around. The valuepreneur doesn't start by saying, "What do I have? How much can I sell? How much can I make?" The valuepreneur says, "Who's out there? Who's out there?" Really understands and focuses their attention on certain parts of the world, of the market, on whom my talents, my skills, my knowledge, my education, my capabilities will have a depth of impact, right? So I choose who I can make the best responses to. And then I look at what's changing in their world. How is the changes in the world impacting their priorities and changing things about them? And then and only then I develop responses to perfectly match that value. I'm not saying anything new, Dr. Lou. There's nothing new about what I'm saying. What is new about it? Everyone gets this, and everyone understands this, and everyone says, yes, work is all about serving and bringing value. But when it gets down to work itself, we go the other way around. There's a desperation of the me. So my methods, my step-by-step technique reverses that. And my argument is, not my argument, my experience, I'm seeing this every day of my life, is that valuepreneurs actually become wealthier than entrepreneurs. Because who the question is this: who would you rather buy from? Someone who's trying to sell you stuff, or someone who's obsessed with your priorities and what the impact the world is throwing on you? It's a no-brainer. And who will you argue more on prices with, the entrepreneur or the valuepreneur? So the valuepreneur and entrepreneur do the same work. They do it with a very different intention.
Interesting.
So, I mean, there's examples oozing out, and I'll be happy to share may I?
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead and share.
So I was, and let me, tons of different examples in different worlds and things, but let me share with you a very, very senior cardiologist who I was asked to coach through a medical devices major. And this gentleman was a top professor, KOL, in France. And he was going to present a paper the next day and the next week at PCR, which is one of the biggest cardiology conferences in Porte-Maillot in Paris. So I was asked to come and coach this gentleman, which was wonderful. I went there and I said, "Okay, professor, let me see your presentation." And Dr. Lou, here it was. And a lot of your listeners will resonate with this. A huge auditorium, 4,000 or 5,000 people in that auditorium, a gigantic screen behind him, a lectern in front with his laptop. The glasses are down here, and here goes the presentation. Dear colleagues, thank you very much for coming to my presentation so early in the morning, straight after breakfast. It's very kind of you. My name is Professor. We have studied the distinction between drug-eluting stents and normal stents, And we studied 1,500 patients. And then he goes into the research protocols and everything that was done and who was where and everything that was done. And then somewhere buried in the end was the punchline, was the real value. And I said, Professor, making a scientific presentation is no joke. And he said, Sanjeev, I agree with you. It is no joke. How do you mean? I said, because in a scientific presentation, you put the punchline at the beginning, right? That's why it's no joke, because jokes have punchlines at the end. To cut a long story short, Dr. Lou, next week he was presenting. He invited me. I coached him for a couple of days, and he invited me. And I was sitting in the front row, 4,000 people in the audience, and the presentation goes like this. No lectern, no laptop for the moment. He walked straight up to the edge, and there was nothing fake, nothing acting about this. It was his nature coming out, and he walked up to the stage and he said, Dear colleagues, I want you to imagine that you have a patient with a complicated lesion at the bifurcation point of the aorta lying on the table in your cath lab. What goes through your mind? What goes through your mind? That you never want to see that patient, at least for 6 years, not just for after 6 months because they're coming back for re-intervention, that the cost of your interventions comes down by 20%, and that you can handle 2 more patients in your daily list. And suddenly, there was a hush in the audience, and he zipped it. And someone in the audience said, Professor, tell us how. And then he took the joy to be able to, and the engagement level was very, so that is valuepreneurship, that you are hitting the value and then giving the what. And we go the other way around. And it was rapturous applause. People were afterwards saying, Professor, can you help us to have drug-eluting stents in ballooning or whatever in our cath labs? And he looked at me, and to bless him, I was so humbled. He just looked at me, he winked, and he gave a little applause like this to me, which was, a big honor for me. But this is the thing. So we need to reverse. It's not about what we do. It's about what we bring. It's about what we impact. And you see how your world changes around you and how joyous you become in your work, actually. And not only more wealthy, but actually far more joyous. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite enlightening. It's kind of like an epiphany, and is kind of the counter. The other thing is what was interesting, this mind availability and personal fortitude that you describe. And I'm really curious on if you could expand on that.
The mind is constantly being pulled into all sorts of very crazy directions. It's distracted. And the more the meanness is there, the more the mind will be distracted. And the moment the mind is distracted, and usually it is distracted by what? It is distracted by the foundation of distraction is my ego. And the moment that my ego comes into play, I'm either in regretting the past or fearing the future, or I'm trying it's too much about me. And that distraction makes my mind not available. If you got a bucket, you fill it with water, and it's full with dirty water, what are you going to do? You've got to empty the thing out first before you start putting clean water in it. So having the presence of mind and making decisions like that. Another example. I was asked to coach of physicians, and they were doing live, demonstrations, right? So you had, again, it's back in cardiology. So in a cath lab, you have this very top guy, interventional cardiologist. And he's showing, and you've got this thing going out live to thousands of people and so on. And I'm sad, and I can't name, of course, the organization by far or come anywhere near it. But there was a fatality. And the whole issue was that there was a distraction, and I could see what was happening. There was a focus. I wasn't there at the conference. I saw the video afterwards. There was an excessive focus of, I am doing the demonstration. I am the big KOL. I need to show you. I'm going to show you. And that distraction caused an issue. So having the mind present is critical. And that brings you That peace, and it's in that quietude that you can see the reality. We don't see reality. We are disturbed. We don't. I had just last week, I had a team from an IT company that I was coaching, and their client, let's give him a name, John, said to the IT project manager, let's give him a name, Pete. John said to Pete, hey, Pete, I need a workload optimization report. Now, what's a workload optimization report? It's simply that the 20 people in your team, Pete, I wanted blow by blow detail of what they are doing and how much they are occupied. That's all, nothing else. Each individual. Pete comes to the team and says, hey guys, look at the way he's saying it. Hey guys, John is looking for a workload optimization report. So can you let me have yours by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning? Dr. Lou, everyone worked that evening very hard, writing copious amounts. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And and 120%, I'm working at 120% of my capacity. Everyone showed that. Do you know what this request was about? It was about, under GDPR, there was a new contract that this company wanted to give to an IT company who had some capacity. Look at this. And they showed we were working at 120%. And who lost out? Knowing that this was the team to solve the problem, the IT company lost out because the client said, you're too busy, I can't give it to you. The company lost out because the right team didn't make it. This is the kind of, and you know what the mind disturbance was? And the mind non-availability was that they read it. Pete read this, and the whole team read this as the client saying to them, I'm checking. They thought the client was checking up on them, and that they thought the client thinks we don't work hard enough. And yeah, we're making decisions. This happened last week. I'm shocked. It's incredible. And you know what was missing? A simple question from Pete to John to say, hey, John, if he'd been valuepreneurial about this, he would have had the courage. And you'll be shocked. You're thinking, Sanjeev, this is obvious stuff. It is. I'm seeing it every day after thousands of people that I've had the pleasure of working. It doesn't happen that often. And that is, he should have said and had the courage to say to John, hey, John, sure, no problem. Look, I want to get this report absolutely right for you. So may I just understand, could you share with me what is the application of it? What's it used for? What's the end impact? What kind of decisions are being made in the company from this report? And then John would have said, hey, let me let you into a secret. We've got this compliance thing going on, and and I'm going to. It was a pharmaceutical company. And then Pete could have gone to, and knowing what was the exact compliance requirement, he could have said, right, Lewis and Mario on my team are experts at this. I will put them on this project, and now I will go and ask for additional resources for temporarily for 2 weeks, bringing Julie and Tom onto the project. So we make better decisions. It's crazy, man. We're disturbed. Yeah. Our mind is distracted, and it's no one's fault. I must say this very, very clearly. I'm very cautious that it should not sound. This is just natural. This is where we get to with our natural human behavior. So quietude of the mind, taking charge of your mind before the mind takes charge of you, critical.
This has been a great conversation. How can people contact you, follow you, and or reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. It'll be a joy. It'll be a joy to if anyone does, and if I can bring any enhancement to your own careers. So you can look at me through my website, and the website is very simply valuepreneurship.com. The preneurship is spelled like entrepreneurship. So or look me up on LinkedIn, just Sanjeev Loomba, or the book is called The Ninth Gear. And yeah, reach out. It'll be great to be in touch with you folks.
And then, yeah, for all the audience out there, let's thank Sanjeev for bringing a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. And be sure to reach out to him on social media. The links will be in the or the resources will be in the links in the show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Lou. Thank you.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.